So I'm gonna name off some receivers, and these are guys that have way more receiving yards throughout their career than Julian
Mm-hmm.
Edelman. But this goes back to my whole theory of like Hall of Famer or no. Jimmy Smith,
I'm gonna say no.
Derek Mason,
Fringe. Oh, he's fringe, man. Oh, I would like Derek to get in, but I'm gonna say no.
Musa Muhammad,
He's a fringe as well. But if I said no to Mason, I gotta say no to him.
Rod Smith,
Yes.
Keenan McCardell,
I'm gonna say no though.
Chad Johnson.
Yes.
I say yes for Chad Johnson.
Yes.
Roddy White.
He's interesting, man. He is very interesting. Roddy was a beast down in Atlanta, man. Before Julio got down there, and even when Julio got down there, he was still their guy. I would like him to get in, but if Hines isn't in, he can't get in right now, bro.
Deshaun Jackson. I'll name a couple more.
Oh man, Deshaun, he's similar though. Deshaun, I look at him similar in terms of the conversation with Julian Edelman. I don't think his numbers are gonna ever match a true wide receiver one on the perimeter numbers.
You want to know how many he has right now?
How many
secretly? He's over 10,000.
Yeah. He's in the conversation because I love how
injuries hurt
dynamic
him a
he
lot.
is. Yeah, I love how dynamic he is, not only as a receiver, but as a return man and showing up in the big moments too, man.
Keyshawn Johnson.
Actually, let me go back. I'm gonna say Deshaun. Yes, I'm going yes for Deshaun.
For Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
whoa, that's
yes.
interesting.
I go yes. I go yes.
Keyshawn Johnson.
Key. I'm gonna go.
Santana Moss.
No, I can't. No.
I'll do one more. Donald Driver.
Oh, now he's interesting. But I look at Donald in the same vein as how I look at Derek Mason and how I look at Hines. Like, I feel like they're all in that bunch of.
Well, that's
great,
the thing. If
we're
gonna
like
say
right on the cusp of it, you know.
That's why I bring up these guys. So if we're saying Edelman, then Edelman over those guys.
Right. That's the problem. Like I said, if those guys were already in, I think it's a different conversation in terms of Edelman getting in. If we're just talking should Edelman be in the Hall of Fame, it's a different conversation versus I can't say Edelman should be in the Hall of Fame if all of those guys that you just named aren't in there already. Because I feel like they're all right in the same boat. I don't look at any of those guys as drastically better or worse than any of those people you just named right there.
I think what Edelman has, though, and what Hines Ward has, which is why I would say I think they both should be in the Hall of Fame, is those playoff moments.
And they both got Super Bowl MVPs. That in terms of high-end hardware, that is high end, man. Outside of getting a full regular season award, that's the next best thing, baby. You get that Super Bowl MVP, that's major. That means in the biggest game of your life, the biggest game of your
playoffs too,
and you stepped up and did that. And it wasn't, neither one of those guys were just a one game guy. It's not like Malcolm Smith, right? The linebacker, they got it with Seattle that 1 year. It's not like that. These guys were dominant.
Dexter Jackson.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you get these random ones. I was like, you got an MVP? All right, cool. Like, nice. Tip of cap. But like these guys were stalwarts. They were, consistent players, consistent big game performers. I mean, we were joking about it before we started today. We said, man, we remember Edelman like all type of just wacky, just getting blasted, but finding a way to catch the ball. We think about that Seahawks game where they won the Super Bowl, right? Where Cam Chancellor smacks him, falls back, stays on his feet, keeps running. I think about the catch in Atlanta where it's like 3 defenders, the ball is kind of there, and he just dives up with one hand out, and he's like, I caught it. And he's like, how? How did you come up with that ball? Like, but consistently he does that.
I think that's the thing that sets Hines Ward and Edelman apart from some of these other receivers. Because and this is what I said earlier too. I think you got to look at the nuance with Edelman's career, kind of like we've been doing with Terrell Davis.
Mm-hmm.
I would just say he had 6 seasons at his peak, because like the 4 where he was like the backup and barely getting any time. Are we really going to count those in terms of his yards versus season ratio? I don't think we should. We should just look at that peak where he was awesome with Tom Brady up there in New England, and then you see the playoffs.
I agree with you 100%, man. I think that should be how it's factored in, but a lot of times it's not handled that way. A lot of times they just want to lump it in and say, well, as a whole, his numbers compared to this guy's numbers, even though they played They both were wide receiver, but very different wide receiver positions. I just feel like sometimes the voters, they like to overlook that, or maybe they're not aware of that. I don't know, because there's so many voters and they're very different. It's not just, as we talked about before, it's not just football players. It's media people. It's beat writers. It's this, it's that, it's that. And they give it a lot of variety and diversity, which is good. But with that, not everybody has that in-depth knowledge and understanding of those type of things.
So my gauge, it comes down to, do you want Edelman or any of those other receivers in a big game?
Give me Edelman in a big game.
That's the thing. Like I would take Edelman. Outside of now, I think this is where the conversation comes in. It's Hines Ward versus Julian Edelman, right? This is what everyone's been talking about. If you guys are saying Edelman gets in, Hines Ward needs to be in, which I agree. They both should be in my opinion. But like, who should get in first, or who should be more of a lock to get in is the question.
To me, I feel like Hines should definitely be in. Edelman should be in. I feel like Ocho should get in.
Yeah.
I don't think that any of those guys are going to get in within these next 5 years, though, barring some type of tragedy. And the reason I say that is because we know if you are a fringe Hall of Famer and you happen to pass away from whatever it may be, the circumstances, but before it was viewed as acceptable for you to leave, we know the outcry and just the emotion, and the NFL likes to go with that, and they will hit you with this guy's getting in the Hall of Fame this year. So I don't want any of those guys to get in like that personally, all right? So that's why for me, I'm like, I don't see them getting in within the next 5 years, or probably for the next 10 years. It's just one of those things where the way the numbers are starting to trend with the new version of wide receivers that are going to become available soon, it's going to be hard to make that case again, because now it's going to look like when we talk quarterbacks and we say, all right, well, what about Troy Aikman? And you look at his numbers back when he played versus Baker Mayfield when he's done. It's going to be like, whoa, hold on now. It's kind of close. But it's just the different styles of the eras. And that's what I see. I mean, that's obviously what's already happened to Hines, but it's only going to continue when you get this next batch of guys retiring. Man.
Oh, dude, yeah.
It's going to get crazy,
dude. Some of these dudes that I see in this range already. I mean, Demaryius Thomas, he's retired, but like AJ Green's at 9,000, T.Y. Hilton's at 9,000. It might be easier as time goes on to hit that. So he's at 12,000. Although, I don't know. You have to be really consistent still to get 12,000.
You do, man.
Even those names I just mentioned, Demaryius Thomas, like he wasn't able to hit it. Like you would have thought he was on that pace. But like because all those seasons with Peyton.
Like, do you look at T.Y. Hilton as a potential Hall of Famer?
No.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, and even though his numbers are going to be right on par,
he might be
that's
around
what I'm saying.
12.
You see what I mean? Like,
but then Hines got the playoffs. He got the Super Bowl MVP.
True.
But then it goes back to just the nuance of eras too. What Hines brought from a physicality standpoint, that was like a staple at that point. Like how he was able to open up stuff in the running game.
The game, bro.
Yeah, it was crazy.
The game. I told you, man, when I played Hines my first time, I was so happy that he didn't hit me at halftime. I was walking in. We walked right next to him. Like, yo, thank you for not hitting me. I appreciate you. And I'm a big fan. Shout out to you. And he just hit me with that smile. And Cameron was like, yo, that's Hines. That's back when I was, that rookie year, man. You kind of like, you're a professional player, but you're still like a Madden fan / groupie. So it's like, oh, I just played with you on the game the other day. You caught the game winner. Like, it was that vibe. But yeah, man, he changed the game, man. Changed the game.
So do we want to just do straight up Hines versus Edelman?
Yo,
this one's tough. I honestly,
it is.
Because every time we faced Edelman, I was just always like, fuck. I was like,
bro.
this is terrible.
He was a nightmare. Like, I felt like Wes Welker was the better player, but it just seemed, I don't know, maybe Julian Edelman because it's more recency bias. I don't know. My dislike for Edelman is a lot higher than my dislike for Wes Welker. Maybe it's because I was younger when we was playing versus it was different. But like Edelman, it's like I vividly remember certain things. I'm just like, oh, why? What are you doing? Yeah.
I'm really big on the big moments and the playoff stuff. So this one is the one that makes it hard for me.
And both of them have the big moments.
They do. So that's why I'm gonna lead Hines, just because he's got the regular season stuff too, the regular season longevity. He's done it through Big Ben, but also some like Cordell Stewart, Tommy Maddox. Like he was able to still put up numbers longer. I don't want to say longer career as a reason, but just to be doing that at a high level for that long. I'm gonna tip my cap to Hines Ward for that, but I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Julian Edelman's postseason is definitely at a higher peak. Yeah. I'm Steelers. I'm biased. I'm going to go with Hines Ward, though.
I'm biased. I'm going Hines. Yeah. Because I can't go with a Patriot, but I could make a case for Edelman, man. It's like,
I know that's what I'm saying. Like if I'm taking the objectivity and the bias out of it, I probably could, but dude, I'm gonna stick with Hines.
But like the versatility, like I said, the return man capabilities as well. Yeah, either one of these guys though, you're never gonna go wrong with. I think this is drastically different because they both have big game hardware. They both have Super Bowl
as opposed
MVPs.
To Edelman versus like Muhammad or
where it's like, well, y'all guys y'all had the better regular seasons or slightly better regular seasons, but he has just this drastically better postseason career. 3-time Super Bowl champ, Super Bowl MVP. But like I said, you look at the statistics, it wasn't like he was just being carried there. Because no. I saw where Shady McCoy, when they asked him, is Julian a Hall of Famer? And they asked him, hey, Shady, do you think you're a Hall of Famer? And he's like, I got these numbers. I'm a 2-time Super Bowl champ. And I'm like, bruh. Like, technically, yes.
Did he say he had to have said it as a joke?
In his argument for why he's a Hall of Famer, he says, you look at my numbers versus the top running backs in this league. He said, I was the best back during my era. And I was like, you can make the case for that.
I'd say he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah.
But then he said,
not because of the Super Bowl.
And then he said, I also have the hardware. I have 2 Super Bowl rings. And I was like, wow. It's like, that too. You do. But, I mean, you know, come on, man. I'm not, but dude, you have them, yes. I don't have them, so I'm not hating. But his rings are slightly different than Julian Edelman's rings. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and the thing with Hines, too, why Edelman's numbers may be a little bit better in the playoffs is just the different style of offense. Like, Patriots, they were pretty much volume passing, I'd say. Like, dude, Edelman was getting fed, 12, 13 times a game probably in those playoffs. Because his numbers are pretty good. Mm-hmm. Hines Ward, it was just different, dude. Like, we didn't run our offense that way. His numbers are still good in the playoffs, but
Edelman, he played with a good quarterback too, man. So
so did Hines, dude.
Well, no, that's this comment right here. Shout out to Wesley. Wesley says Edelman had the GOAT thrown to him. Hines didn't.
Hines did.
He said he did.
We just ran a different offense, though, man.
That's it. That what said the GOAT was that.
I'll say I've said this before, they're both GOATs, but the GOAT is better in my opinion.
The baby goat. I got you, man.
No.
How much you, man? It's like little baby goat, big goat, baby goat.
Nah, man.
It's like goat mini. It's cool, bro.
No. Seven to go. But I think that's why the numbers are a little bit more drastic in Edelman's favor. Because Hines still had some really good playoff performances, but we just ran a different offense, dude. We just ran a different offense,
and different generations. I mean, even though Hines kind of like blends in with that because he was at the tail end of it switching. 2010 to 2014 or 2013 offenses were very different than 2014 to what we see now. That was the shift, and that's when Edelman really did start to come back.
That was
really start to.
That was on the downside of Hines' career too. That time period, because Hines' prime was 2000 to 2010. So even that, compared to the 2013, 14 to 17, 18, is even a little bit different too.
Very true, man.
Yeah, so we're going with Hines then.
Yeah, gotta go Hines, man. Always Hines.
But I mean, we both speak fairly highly of Edelman.
No, without it, and like you said, we're resident Patriot haters. Like, we don't like the Patriots. We don't like anybody that's affiliated with the Brady group. We like Brady. We respect Brady's game. We like that. Just not over Ben. I got you.
Not over Ben.
His words.